to reach their God-ordained destiny. And the mission of the cry of a mother is to bear our brokenness in the hopes of bringing wholeness to others, that through our testimonies, that they can see that the God that did it for us is the same God that will do it for them. The Cry of a Mother platform has a mission to accomplish in the earth, and it is to bear our brokenness in the hopes of bringing wholeness to others. It is our God-ordained assignment to share our testimonies and to bear our brokenness and how God has healed, strengthened, and delivered us in the hopes that as we share our testimonies, for the Word of God says that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimonies. So it is the mission of us, the mothers, that sit upon this platform, the Cry of a Mother, to bear our brokenness and how God has strengthened, healed, and restored us in the hopes that we can bring wholeness to others. That is what the Cry of a Mother's platform is all about. The Cry of a Mother is a platform that God has orchestrated himself. And there is a vision for the Cry of the Mother, and it is to empower mothers and their families to seek God, to receive strength, healing, restoration, to reach their God-ordained destiny. And the mission of the Cry of a Mother is to bear our brokenness in the hopes of bringing wholeness to others, that through our testimonies, that they can see that the God that did it for us is the same God that will do it for them. The Cry of a Mother platform has a mission to accomplish in the earth, and it is to bear our brokenness in the hopes of bringing wholeness to others. It is our God-ordained assignment to share our testimonies and to bear our brokenness and how God has healed, strengthened, and delivered us in the hopes that as we share our testimonies, for the Word of God says that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimonies. So it is the mission of us, the mothers, that sit upon this platform, the Cry of a Mother, to bear our brokenness and how God has strengthened, healed, and restored us in the hopes that we can bring wholeness to others. That is what the Cry of a Mother's platform is all about. The Cry of a Mother is a platform that God has orchestrated himself. And there is a vision for the Cry of the Mother, and it is to empower mothers and their families to seek God, to receive strength, healing, restoration, to reach their God-ordained destiny. And the mission of the Cry of a Mother is to bear our brokenness in the hopes of bringing wholeness to others, that through our testimonies, that they can see that the God that did it for us is the same God that will do it for them. The Cry of a Mother platform has a mission to accomplish in the earth, and it is to bear our brokenness in the hopes of bringing wholeness to others. It is our God-ordained assignment to share our testimonies and to bear our brokenness and how God has healed, strengthened, and delivered us in the hopes that as we share our testimonies, for the Word of God says that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimonies. So it is the mission of us, the mothers, that sit upon this platform, the Cry of a Mother, to bear our brokenness and how God has strengthened, healed, and restored us in the hopes that we can bring wholeness to others. That is what the Cry of a Mother's platform is all about. The Cry of a Mother is a platform that God has orchestrated himself.
Thank you so very much for joining the Cry of a Mother monthly gathering. Thank you so very much. We are super excited that you have taken the time to join us. Listen, if you haven't already done so, I want you to take the link, copy the link, hit the share button and invite somebody to join us on today. Invite that mother, invite that father, invite that child. Share and invite so that somebody else might be blessed on today. Come on, I want you to copy the link and invite somebody to join us today. Share, 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 share. Listen, before I move forward, I want to honor the visionary of the program, the Cry of the Mother, Apostle Paulette Forbes Boschman. We honor her on today. God bless you, Apostle. We thank God for her putting together a broadcast, putting together this broadcast to help mothers navigate through motherhood. And so I also want to honor Deaconess Trevalcha, who serves alongside me today as one of the hosts on the Cry of the Mother. I want to welcome our guest here today, Deacon Alton Fulton from the UK, and Pastor Isabella, who is also from the UK. Correct, Pastor Isabella? We welcome them. We honor them on today. We are super excited today about the broadcast as we continue with part 3 of the impact of an absent parent. We started this topic back in January when we were doing the Woman Arise, where we talked about we relaunched the Cry of a Mother, and we started talking about the absent parents and the effects of parents, things that we experienced as children. And so that's carried over into a part 3 of dealing with the absent parent. And so, as I said, we did a relaunch, and here we are again, still talking about that topic, because that one topic led into so many different areas in terms of a parent being absent. And so we know that children who experience absent parents in their life, whether due to divorce or separation or any other circumstance, often struggle with a range of emotions. And so it can deeply affect the child's life in the sense of security, identity, and their emotional well-being. When we grow up, or when you grow up in a household where there is consistent presence and involvement of a parent in your life, it provides a foundation of stability. It provides a foundation of support. But when there's an absent parent, Pastor Isabella, it can disrupt a child's life, and the child may experience abandonment, confusion, and sadness, struggling with to make sense of why they had to grow up without their parents in their life, and it makes it kind of difficult for them when a parent is absent. And children tend to experience feelings of abandonment, as I said, confusion. They go through sadness, go through anger, and this absence of a parent figure can lead to a sense of loss and really disrupt a child's life, and it causes them to not feel like they belong. And what happens is these emotional challenges sometimes can manifest in with various ways, and we can attest to that, such as behavioral issues, academic issues. When they go to school, it can cause academic problems and other difficulties in forming all kinds of other relationships. Pastor Isabella, I've heard your testimony many times about you growing up with your dad and how it impacted your life. And so I know our last session we talked a lot about the impact. It started when you were a little girl, but you grew into this woman and still realized that even as an adult woman, that you were still affected by daddy leaving your life. And so I want to chime back into pick up maybe where we left off the last time you were here. Both of us, you shared how you longed for daddy in your life. And then I shared the opposite of that. I didn't know who my father was. And so when my mother got married and she wanted me to call this man that she married daddy, but he was abusive. And so for me, it was like, if daddies are abusive and that's what a daddy is, then I didn't want a daddy. But you were talking from the standpoint of you needed your daddy. You wanted your father, and it affected.
Yes.
So I'm going to turn it over you to just and share what the Lord gives you to share with us on today.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Pastor Mary. I want to honor Apostle Paulette, and of course Deaconess Trevalcha as well, and the other guests. Deacon, that we have on, whom I can't see. I'm not sure whether he's joining us soon, but hey, it's always such a privilege to be able to share, because I believe, out of pain, purpose is birth. And I believe that one of the assignments in my life, or that God has placed upon me, is actually to help young women, especially those who have grown up in families without the figurehead, the father. And I just want to back up a little bit. Let's just think about what really the role of the father is. I know we kind of touched on it in different ways at the last session that we had, but we've got to look at this. The Bible calls that the husband, the father, is the head of the home. And so what is the head? What does the head? Is guidance, is instruction, is there to lead. A father is there to help train and instruct of the Lord. Also, there's the protection and provision part of fatherhood. And then we talk about where does a child get their identity? That's where you're born, you bear your father's name. Well, yes, that's the traditional, that's how we've done it. The affirmation from a father figure, the security in yourself, that you belong to someone who is there to protect you, to provide and cover you. Like I shared before, my childhood, I can remember, was full of insecurity. I just felt always naked. I felt not covered. Now, I had a loving mother, a mother who was the heart of the, nurtured, did as well and as great as she knew how to. But a mother is not a father. I know that many times women have been forced into the situation of playing father and mother. But the truth is, when you get down to the basics, a mother is a mother, a father is a father. It's not one person. It's not in one person. You can do so for me, like I said, it affected my self-confidence as a child. I walked around with the spirit of rejection, which at that time I didn't realize what it was called. But I just felt unlovable. I didn't feel, and this wasn't because my mother didn't love me. My mother showed me all the love in the world. I had my sister, but like I always say, it's that affirmation. There's something. You might have 1,000 people, cheering you up, cheering you on, shouting, "Go! You've got it! You're all that." But if that one voice that you're waiting to validate you, to affirm you, if that one single voice is absent, it's amazing how 1,000 voices mean nothing until you hear that one voice. And for me, and I recognize that this affects people in different ways, because I've got a sister, and my sister, it did not affect her the same way it affected me at all. She's different. So, somebody else who grew up in a household without a father might be listening to me, and they may not be able to identify at all with the things I'm talking about. So again, it's all, I can only speak from my perspective and from my understanding of the word of God, what the position and the role of the father is in the home. As I've grown up, and I mean, how did I overcome it? I think I talked about it, again in the last session that we had, this issue about self-worth, just feeling rejected without your father's affirmation, because you're questioning your worth, your value, your significance. You're questioning even, whether anybody can love you, if not your father. If not your father, then who? Then the other thing I talked about is this lack of trust. Because you're so insecure in yourself, you project it. This was, I can only talk, like I said, from my perspective. You're projecting it. If somebody is coming around, you expect them to leave almost. You expect them to leave. That's what men do, So for me, that's what, yeah. Sorry, were you going to say something, Pastor Mary? Oh, okay. I thought you were speaking. So, because you're not having a relationship with my father affected me in that way. I expected men to leave. I didn't expect men to stick around when things got tough. So what did it do to me? I lowered my expectation of men. I didn't expect them to. So if you start acting up, even before you leave, I've like, go. I know you're gonna go, so go, And that's almost like self-sabotage. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's what you speak into and what you believe in your life. And that's what played out. But like I said, I think God being so merciful, I can't remember really praying specifically about it, but I know that my husband, caught me early before I did too much damage to myself. So I was in the relationship early enough, and he had a lot of work to do in terms of instilling, getting me to trust him, getting me to let my guard down, getting me to stop being so defensive and so uptight, just getting me to trust him, to break down the walls that were wrapped around my heart, because of those feelings of abandonment, feelings of rejection, and, just that distrust that I had for men. And so God used my husband to heal a lot of broken places or broken parts of my life. And I am eternally grateful to God because that helped me, even with bringing up my own children, because hurting people hurt people. When you're not healed, you're likely to bleed on other people, even when they're your children, even when they're people you love. And so that I had a lot of healing from that. But like I said, I was married. It was 1 year into my marriage that I got born again. It was 1 year into my marriage that I walked into a place, a church, and they were talking about the spirit of rejection. And that was really when I got my freedom. And when I talk about freedom, I want people to understand that life is a journey. Sometimes your deliverance might happen in that instant, one time, God's done something and, it falls off. But sometimes deliverance is a journey. You think you've walked past and you've dealt with something, and then a situation comes up and you think, oh, that's residues of that which was there, which I thought I'd been totally delivered from. But it's a journey. So if you're I've been to so many different places where I've met young ladies, young girls that have grown up in a fatherless, and I'm going to put that in quote. And when I say fatherless, they didn't have relationship with their dad, and all I see, broken little girls looking for healing in the wrong places, looking for love in the wrong places, tagged all sorts of names by society. You're difficult, you're rebellious, you're this, you're that. But really, when you see through that, you see this is a little girl inside just crying out to be saved, crying out to be loved, crying out, to be understood, for somebody to acknowledge. And sometimes you're going to have to heal by yourself. Some girls are expecting that dad will walk back into their lives and apologize for the time, and some of them you will not get that, and you've got to. For me anyway, my healing came from the Lord. My healing came from knowing the Lord and understanding that, he will never leave me. He will never forsake me. Though my father and my mother forsake me, the Lord will never forsake me. And for me, that was because there was such a big vacuum in my heart, a heart that was full of love, just, and it was like when I got born again, when I met Jesus, when I walked into this place and I found out that there's a father that loves me, a father that loves me beyond any kind of love I've ever known. That's why I poured my whole entire existence and love. That's why when you see me, when I worship, I do not look back. I do not think twice. I am focused, because that's my lifeline. Without the Father's love, I would be a total mess. And it's that love that centers me. Is that love that stabilizes me. It is that love that I can stand on, and I know that I can trust that no matter what the situation is, that the love of God surrounds me. I don't want to keep talking and talking and talking, so I want to give somebody else an opportunity to talk.
Pastor Rabiola, Pastor Isabella, what you were saying is so really, really good. I know from my own experience how an absent parent, absent father, impacted and it affected my sense of security. It affected my identity and also my emotional well-being, but not just absent, me not growing up and not knowing who my father was, and I'll say is. I'm 56 and I still don't know who my father is. And so it kind of disrupted my life, not knowing who my father is, but also because I left home at such a young age, not having that relationship with my mother, that absent mother also disrupted my life and brought a lot of confusion, I experienced a lot of sadness. I struggled with a lot of things in my life. I had to deal with abandonment issues, and I had to deal with not feeling like I belong. I had to deal with not understanding why my mother allowed certain things to happen to me while she was absent from my life when I ran away from home because of the abuse that I endured as a child. And so that made her absent in my life. I didn't know who daddy was, but then she was also absent because I felt like she allowed things to happen to me. So I didn't feel that she was there for me, as you if you will. And so I carried a lot of that stuff you say into my adulthood, and like you said, I myself, like you, encounter young women, young girls who are experiencing these things or navigating through different things in life. But when you get to the root of their issues, you will find a broken little girl. You will find a little girl who was impacted by that parent not being in their life, by daddy not being there, by mommy not being there. And I want to turn it over to Deacon Alton, because I know Deacon Alton shares his testimony of how when his mom left to make a better life, but left him, it impacted his life and shaped how he handled women. And one of the other things that Deacon Alton mentioned was, he said something to the degree, and help me out if I get it wrong, Deacon Alton. He made a statement about how he did not want this to impact his daughters.
That's right. That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So I want you to talk a little bit about that, when you make that statement, like, I don't want this to impact my daughter, talk about what that means, and what that looked like, uh, Deacon Alton, because you went through it and it impacted your life, and taught you how to handle women. But then you made this statement, I don't want my daughters to be impacted by what I've gone through. Oh, yeah, yeah, bashieke, and who I
Yes,
became as a
yes,
result of. But so I'm gonna turn it over to you, Deacon Alton. I want you to chime in.
yes, yes. Especially, God bless you, Pastor Mary. God bless you, Pastor Isabella, Deaconess Trafalgar. God bless you. God bless you. Um, of all the three sessions that we've had, I think this is my favorite. And the reason why it's my favorite is I get to talk about the children that God has blessed me with. And for some reason, most of them are girl. Most of them are girl. I have two biological of my own, two daughters, but when I got married, my wife came with, two daughters and a son. And then there's also another gentleman, younger man, that, it's like his family is in our household. And one of the things that I did, like we talk about the impact, I didn't want what affected me to affect my daughters. I wanted one for my kids to have a stable home. Now, bear in mind, my wife, my current wife that I'm with, so she came with children. So which means at some point, these children have already experienced separation. They're going through that. So and then my biological two, who does not live with me, has also experienced. So I've been on both sides of the fence where it comes to, let's say, absentees. Let's call it what it is. I've been, even though I'm active in their lives, it's not the same. A visit every so often or have coming over every so often is not the same as being there every day,
Absolutely.
because it's the moment that you need that parent or that child needs you as a parent. When you're not there, that counts. It's not all the other time when, oh, daddy's coming, I'm going to see daddy on the weekend, part-time father, mother and stuff. So for me, it's that stability that I wanted my children to have that I didn't have. Like I said, in my period of time when I'm let's say between the age of 18 months to 13 years, I saw a lot of different stepmom. Each came with their own way of how they dealt with a stepchild. Some was nicer than some. Can you hear me okay, Pastor Mary? Okay. Some was nicer than some. Some I got really close with because they showed genuine love. And so when I became stepfather, I never call my I never use that title stepfather. I mean, the father I'm not. So, and with my closest children at the moment, one of the closest one is not my biological daughter. It's one of my stepdaughter. You'll find me anywhere with her because I never want them to feel that separation. Okay, yes, that's mommy's husband, but is he gonna treat me like his child? I never treated them that way. I always say they got the same love that my biological children have. They got the same scolding and telling off the same way as my biological children have. Now, there's some restrictions, there's boundaries and you understand that, and one of the things, have you ever heard a stepchild said, "You're not my parent, you're not my father," and so you have to deal with it and be prepared for that, and that is real. But despite all of that, I have shown them, and I will continue to show them the same love that I show my biological, sometimes even more, because I know there's more at stake when it comes to stepchildren, because there were some step parents, like I said, that I've been through with my life that wasn't so nice. And so it took that added to, okay, my mother left, so I can't really trust everybody. Now I have a stepmother who's there, but she's not really there for me. She's there for daddy. And it is real. So and when I got married, I said, as one of the things we did as a family is I married my wife and her children. We it's whatever they came with, whatever situation, that's not my issue. That's not my thing. The good, the bad, and the indifferent, that's mine. And so I've learned, and thank God he's given me a heart. I've always had a heart for children and family. I'm a family person. I love family. I love being family, that family setting and stuff like that. So when it was, the more the merrier. It was okay. Bring them in. Come on. Let me show you. Let me try to be your daddy. What is it that you need to do and stuff like that. So for me, I didn't want my girls then now, who even though their biological father is alive, some might have closer relationship with that because they also now I'm seeing them going through the same thing that I went through. I've seen the pattern that okay, I went through this. I could do something about it, but I'm watching them going through that. The days when when they argue with their own biological father, or when there's certain celebration, they'll say, "My stepdad is is my father," and the jealousy that comes out. So I've been through all of that, but I love every one of them, and I will continue to show them the same love as my biological parents showed me.
I'll chime in, and then Deaconess Trevalcha or Pastor Isabella, if you have something you want to share. But Deacon Alton, again, I commend you. I commend you when you came on the broadcast and you shared and said, because my mom left and wasn't there, it impacted me as a man, and it taught me how to treat women. I commended you for sharing that. I commend you now for what you just said. And it brings tears to my eyes because you said, even as a stepdad, I want my stepchildren, you didn't say stepchildren, I want them to feel my love. I commend you
Yes.
for that. Because when my mother got married and to my stepfather, he didn't feel that way about her kids. He hated her kids, me being one of them.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I experienced the pain of that, and the abuse from that, because I was not. This is how he would tell us. I'm thinking about what you said when you hear kids say, "You're not my stepdad." No, for me, it was, "You ain't my daughter. You're not my daughter," and I was treated accordingly. I was treated with that hatred and that discontent because I was not his child. And so because I was not his child, I was treated with abuse and physical and verbal abuse. So I commend you to hear you say, even though they're not your kids, you love them as if they are your kids. Well, I commend you for that, and I appreciate that, because it's a blessing to children who have marry into blended families, to have a man to come in, or either if it was a woman to come in and say, "I'm not your mother, your biological mother. I'm not your biological father, but I will love you as if I am." That's
The funny thing though, Pastor Mary, with that, even when I went to the period where relationship didn't matter much. 90% of the ladies that I dated had children for some reason, and two, I would always be close with the kids. So even today, there are children who used to call me stepdaddy, even for a short period of time, and I still have relationship with, because I became more of a mentor to a lot of them, even to this day. And they still call me if they need advice. I would never, even though I said with the mothers, yeah, if you stay, whatever. But with the children, it was always something different. And I was always mindful. So one of the things was, I don't need to see your kids as yet. Let's see where this is going. And we have to be careful of that, how quickly we let people in with our children's life. Some of us are too quick to I introduced it, now you stepdaddy. No, no, no. We ain't even established if we're gonna. so, so I was very mindful of the children, and I still have good relationship with a lot of children. As a matter of fact, let me give this testimony. I arrived in Jamaica last Tuesday, and I'm driving somewhere on Wednesday, and I saw these two young ladies walking, and I said, "Wait a minute, that girl looks very familiar." Come to find out, when I pull up to the car, it's one of my stepdaughter from my previous marriage. I haven't seen her for years, and the first time we met is in Jamaica. And I picked her out of a million people. And when I pulled over, she saw me, and I called her, and she ran over, and she introduced her friend, me to a friend. She said, "This is my best stepdad I've ever had." I've been divorced from her for years, but she squeezed me so tight, and the relationship that I have with all of these children is still like I have with my biological children, because I've always valued them as children, and me, you understand? So I could mentor them and stuff like that.
Pastor
I think Pastor
Isabella.
Isabella was.
No, yeah, I was thinking to myself, I've got to drop off in about 8 minutes. So I just wanted to come in, and honestly, I am I don't want to use the word so impressed, but really and truly, I would say there are not many men like you, from what you said. And that's, yes,
But call my wife and tell her.
but I from my point of view, I just wanted to say something, and this is to my fellow women, to mothers. I've seen quite a number of young women who have buried the trauma of not having a father, either because their mom would not let that name, we don't mention that name in this house, we don't talk about him. And actually, sometimes when a child misbehaves, a mother will say, well, you're behaving just like your dad. And those things are causing deep wounds in these children that will follow them, for the rest of their lives if we're not careful. So I would really encourage mothers. Listen, acknowledge the pain. It doesn't take, if a child misses the presence of the father, don't say, oh, but you've got uncle that, you've got uncle that, you've got me, you've got, why do you? No, that child, that father is, that child is the father is part of who that child is. We can't change that. And I think it's important to acknowledge the pain that that causes. Don't just bury it, or just ignore it as if it doesn't exist, because what happens is this story, and then when they start playing up, people think, oh, your child is just badly behaved or whatever. um Acknowledge the pain, because that's where the healing begins. With acknowledging that, my child is being impacted in this way, and rather than shushing the child, or saying, we don't mention that name because you're hurt. Work on yourself. Ask the Holy Spirit to help you. There are people that are not deserving of your forgiveness, not because they deserve it, but because you'd offer it for your own sake and for the sake of your children, whom you birth with that man. So don't, so work on yourself, your heart. The relationship didn't work, it didn't work. It's a two-way street. There's a part to play on everybody's side. I mean, I'm only saying this based on my own experience. So acknowledge that that child is being impacted by the absence of their father. Do not try to force them to take on another person as their father. That doesn't mean there will be mentors. There might be other people that will come into their lives, but recognize that there is a DNA, there's a tie that is there, There's a connection that is there that every child wants to know who my father is, who my mother is, whether it's father or mother. And let that child make that decision when they're of age. They come of age when they decide, right, I don't want anything to do with you because you've treated me this way. Not because you've treated my mother this way. Of course, that comes into play as well, because anyway, I'm not going to delve into that, how it affects a child, how the father treats the mom, because that's a different, story. But I just want to appeal. Last time I did mention it, I said to dads, if you have a child somewhere and, the excuse is, oh, the mother is horrible, she keeps, stopping me from, do everything you can. Go to God. If you can't reach the mother of your children, pray to God. If you believe in prayers, pray and say, Lord, soften the heart. Why are you doing this? Not because you want to get back with the woman, for the sake of your child. We're talking destiny here. There's a destiny on the line that needs you. That child needs you. That child needs to identify, to have the identity, I belong to somebody who accepts me. I'm not a mistake. I'm not a mistake. I am loved. Every child deserves to know, even if circumstances do not allow you to be in that child's life every day. But let that child know that she or he is loved. It's so important. Mothers, please do not,
Amen.
because when you hold back and you stop the man or the ex from seeing his children, you are hurting your children. They may not say it because they don't want to hurt your feelings. They don't want mom to feel bad. But guess what? They are burying that pain deep inside. So it's an appeal. If you accept the love of God for you, for your children, let them experience their own father or their mother, as the case may be. Let them experience. Do not deny them a relationship with their father. That was not the case with my mom. She didn't stand. In fact, she kept trying to bring my dad into my life, but my dad chose not to be in our lives. It was by choice. And a lot of fathers do it by choice. Yeah, they do that by choice. So I'm
Wow.
appealing to you as one who lived through it. The pain is deep. The depth of it is not what you say, oh, go see a therapist. Sometimes that will actually drive you down the wrong. Anyway, I'm not against therapists, but I've seen people. I'm not against them, but I'll leave it there. Let me just leave it there with this appeal. Please acknowledge the pain. If the child is in pain, do not shout them down and try to force them to, accept other people. Let them acknowledge that the father not being in their life is, and as much as possible, get them support, but do not bury it as though it does not exist and as though it's not an issue. Oh, we're good on this side. He can go to hell, burn to ashes. No, with most children, it's not that, because that dad is a part of who they are. So if
Yeah.
you're a mother listening to me in this situation, I am begging you, literally, because I know how it affects the children. Acknowledge that it has a big and deep impact on their lives. And whatever part you have to play to help that child to heal, whether it's by fostering the relationship with the dad or in whatever way, please support. Do not get in the way. Just support.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah. Um, Pastor Isabella, you said something that was so very, very, very key. And I and that was, it's important as parents to acknowledge the child's experience. It
Absolutely.
acknowledge their hurt, acknowledge their pain, because it's important to acknowledge the negative impact on their life, because when you acknowledge it, it helps to promote their well-being. I had a conversation with a young lady, a mother, on yesterday, and this is the exact conversation that we had. And over during the conversation, I'm hearing her say, "But she's like this, and she's doing that, and she's doing this." She's talking about her daughter, and she's doing this, and I don't know why she's like that, and I don't know why she's like that. I don't know why she's like this. And I said to her, I said, acknowledge what she's feeling. And she kept
Absolutely.
going on and on. And I finally said, Deacon Alton, I said, okay, so let's look at it this way. She is the way that she is because what you've done to her has shaped her life. It does not make you a bad parent. It does not make you a bad person. You've done the best that you could, I believe, with what you had. But to say you don't understand why she is the way that she is, if you are a parent and I'm a child, and you take me and you leave me at Auntie or Uncle Auntie Pastor Isabella house, and leave me at Uncle Deacon Alton house, and just give me some food and leave me there, and you just drop me off, and then you go on about your business, and you say she was good, she good. No, she wasn't. She was not good. What message you send to a young child is you're not there for her. She does not mean anything to you. She's not important to you. In your mind, you, as a parent, you think that I took her to Auntie Pastor Isabella's. I took her to Uncle Deacon Alton. They good. They take you. They made sure she got everything she need, but she needed her mother. And now she's a young adult, and she's navigating through her lack of respect for you, her disrespect for you, her feeling of abandonment, all because in her mind as a little girl, that's what you did to her. Your responsibility now, and that you brought this up, is to acknowledge what she feels. And sometimes what I'm learning as parents, we don't want to acknowledge what our children feel, because if I acknowledge what you feel, then that makes me, you said it. I'm not sure if you said it or Deacon Alton said, in order for me to acknowledge what you feel as a child, I got to acknowledge what I did. I got to take a look at my own self and my role in what happened to you, right? And most parents don't want to do that. You know, most parents is, I did what I did. You had a roof over your head and you had food to eat, but you was never there. And that affects my relationship with you. You never had time for me. That's what you say to a child. My mom never had time for me. So now, the Uncle Alton is that's the best uncle I ever had. My auntie Pastor Isabel, them the best. They are the best. But somewhere deep down inside, that young adult, that grown woman is still crying about the little girl that mommy dropped off. And so sometimes as parents, we got to acknowledge their experiences. And sometimes to do that, Deacon Alton, it hurts. It hurts us, because then we got to own up to the fact that we was messed up. We got to own up to our mistake. We got to, even sometimes we have to own up to our own chapters, our own story. You know, I said to her yesterday, I said, your daughter does not know you. She doesn't know your story. She doesn't know what you experienced. And sometimes, like even with your daughters, Deacon Alton, and your sons, there may be a conversation where you'll have to have with them to sit with them and say, hey, look, I know your dad, your biological dad may not be here, and I understand what that feels like. Let me share with you what I had to deal with. That helps them. You know what I mean? But sometimes it's hard for parents to acknowledge what children are experiencing, because we naturally look at them, and I'm sure your parents did it to you. My parents did it to me. You're a child, you don't know, you don't understand, but we do know. I can remember stuff back when I was 4 years old, Deacon Alton. And so we take that mindset and we discount their experiences and what they have gone through, because ultimately it makes us look at ourselves. And
Amen.
sometimes, yeah, and sometimes I said to her, it also sometimes it puts us in a place of mommy guilt or daddy guilt. And that just ultimately says that you're not healed as a parent. There's still some healing to take place. I mean, you can chime in, Deacon Arthur, if you have anything to say, because it's almost time for us to come to a close.
I believe, Pastor Mary, I agree with everything you said. I don't believe in what make up for lost times, because lost times is lost times. You could start new and move forward from where you are. And it's funny you said that, because about a month ago, my eldest daughter lost her mom when she was about 12. She's 22 now, so about 10 years. And after that, there was a period for 2.5 years she didn't speak to me, even though I raised her from an. And about a month ago, in November, we connected back again, and now we're trying to build a relationship. But all this time, Pastor Mary, she wouldn't say what the issue was. Never. She wouldn't. And we went out for dinner about a month ago, myself and one of my other daughters. And during that dinner period, everything came out. Everything came out. And sometimes, like you said, we brush things off and we say, not that in this case I did brush things off, but some of the stories that was told to her when I separated from her mother is a little bit different from the reality. Because you have parents who tries to build them up, self up, but they have to put the other parent down rather than being honest. Not every relationship will work out. And so we had this conversation at a dinner in a restaurant that got as heated as it can ever be. And all I kept thinking to myself is, finally, I know what the issues is. I know now you're speaking to me, and you're really. So for some people, they will see angry daughter talking to, but for me, I'm thinking, thank God this is relief, because now I would know where to start building. I know what needs to be worked on, whether it's myself or whether it's her or both of us. We now have starting points, and we know what we need to do. I want to say this to some of the fathers and mothers. Let me start with the fathers first. If you could invest time and energy into cheating, into dodging, hiding, sneaking around and doing this, you could invest the same time and energy to go visit your child. To go visit your child. There is no excuse. There is nothing that a mother could tell me that would let me not go visit my child. Because in most civilized country, there's justice system that will help you to make sure that you have some form of right to visit your child. There are such things as right. There is right and there's excuses. And too many times men tend to take excuses, blaming the mother for the reason they don't have a relationship with. Well, I was with my exes, but I had good relationship with my children, and even when my exes were going at each other, I said, this is not fault of my girls. So my girls grew up like twins, even though they had separate mothers. I now with my youngest, my wife's youngest daughter, we never get off the phone without telling each other we love each other. It's normal, irregular comment. We never leave a room. We never sit without saying, "Hey, I love you. Hey, I love you." Never. I'm in Jamaica, and I get the most texts from her more than my wife. I miss you. Hurry up and come back. It's not like bring me someday, bring me no. I miss you. Hurry up and come back. And I'm like, I miss you. I call you. Are you okay? I check on her constantly. She checks on me constantly. Now this was years ago. The same child that said to me, "Oh, you're not my father." What if I had let that be how I judge her? No. I'm, as a parent, have a responsibility and must be able to rise above that. Have enough maturity to say, you don't love me, I love you even more. You don't love me, I love you even more. And the minute you tell me you don't love me, are you hungry? Let me go make you some dinner. Because love will break anything. Every barriers love will pull down. So that's why I never refer to my non-biological kids as stepchildren. These are my children. So I treat them the same. I give them the same love as I give my biological children. But and mothers, there's Pastor Mary, there's a big thing happening, especially in the Caribbean, where mothers are giving the children to the wrong father. And it's getting out of hand. And this is one of the reasons, again, another reason why you're having absentees household, single mothers, because the wrong father doesn't know. There's been a massive thing of it in Jamaica, because how many fathers find out is when they decide, let me take this child to a better life and take them to America. And then I got to go do a DNA before I could get a visa for them. And this is becoming a big thing in Jamaica and a lot of Caribbean country, which shouldn't be happening. That's why we encourage young women, young men, seek husband and wives. Make sure you know who you're with and who the child belongs to. Promiscuity doesn't work, doesn't help, because you end up with children who with absent, there's no father, there's no mother in the household. We could break this cycle, Pastor Mary. This is something that we could do as a generation. It starts in the household. It starts in your community. If you see a young lady or a young man and they want to be all over the place, stop them. Don't encourage them. There were certain people in my family who encouraged me to do that because it made me look good. It's not good. Nobody wins in the situation. The mother doesn't win. The child doesn't win. The father doesn't win. So I encourage the men, take the energy that you will take to look for a side chick, the energy you will take to look for to chicochi, take that energy and spend with your children. Let them get to know the true you. So even if the mothers are saying things that are about you, let them find out for themselves who you are. Rather than they will just accept what the mother said because you have proven it to them that you were never there. You have just proven it to them. I will stay in my children's life as long as they want to stay in mine. There's always room in my heart to welcome. And that's it's not even an option. It's my duty as a father. It's my duty as a husband to make sure I take care of my household, to make sure I show love to my children, feed them, encourage them in the word. That's my duty. It's not an option. And too many times men think this is optional. It's not. Back to you, Pastor Mary.
Deacon Alton, that was so very, 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 very good. I know for the second time we have to time out. I mean, we have to log off shortly, but this was really, really, really good. And again, I like what you said to the men. In terms of spending time with your children, even if somebody told them something different about you, even if your child is being told something different about you, and even if what is told about you is true, and God has healed you, and your life has been changed.
Mm-hmm.
Get to a place where you're with your children, or you get to know your children. Spend time with your children. Let them know what's going on in your life. Let them know if it's a case of where you've gone through some things and you wasn't the best parent, and now God has healed you and you've become a different person. Spend time with that child so that child can get to know who that person is, the new person. So again,
Amen.
thank you, Deacon Alton. It was always a pleasure to have you here with us on the Cry of the Mother. We thank God for your insight. Thank God for pouring into others so that, somebody might be blessed. We pray that somebody was blessed on today and
Amen.
even strengthened on today, whether it was a child who was listening, who feels like they've been abandoned or left behind, or whether it's a parent that feels like they have forgotten about their children or have been absent in their kids' life. The purpose of this program is that somebody will be healed, somebody will be
Amen.
delivered, and somebody will be set free. Again, thank you so very much, everybody, for joining the Cry of a Mother. We are here on the Cry of a Mother every third Sunday of the month, and so we invite you to join us again on next month. God bless you, everybody. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you peace. More blessings, and have a wonderful day, everybody. God bless you, Deacon Alton.
God bless you, Pastor Mary. God bless everybody.
The Cry of a Mother is a platform that God has orchestrated himself. And there is a vision for the Cry of the Mother, and it is to empower mothers and their families to seek God, to receive strength, healing, restoration, to reach their God-ordained destiny. And the mission of the Cry of a Mother is to bear our brokenness in the hopes of bringing wholeness to others, that through our testimonies, that they can see that the God that did it for us is the same God that will do it for them.